Welcome back into the college show powered by Dynasty Nerds. I am your host, Garret Price, here with Jared Wackerly. Jared, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Good to be back, guys.
Good to have you back. We've got Andrew Mott as well. Andrew, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. Just trying to grind out the rest of this fantasy season, and now I'm looking forward to the college football playoffs. We got those coming up soon.
Can't wait.
Conference championships this weekend.
Dude,
yeah.
Indiana, Ohio State, cannot wait for that this weekend. That's going to be super
real
fun.
Quick, not to derail the show at the beginning, but
you're good.
The line was 4.5 for, giving Indiana points.
Sure.
Do you feel like that's really low?
It does. It feels like Ohio State's going to be touchdown plus.
I hammered that. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see, but maybe our hometown bias is showing its true self there.
Yeah. We haven't played a good offense yet. That's what I'm worried about. Other than like the beginning. Pretty much all year.
Yeah, we haven't played good offense.
Yeah.
That being said, we are missing our fourth host, Jagger. A little scratchy throat today. Things aren't, we don't want to overwork him. So he's going to take the day off, and I'm sure he's listening and critiquing where we put these classes. But we are continuing in our series where we are studying the 2020 class through the 2027 class, and we're ranking them. So hopefully this gives us some pictures and some indicators as to how we should be feeling about these two upcoming classes, where we should be putting them, and all of that good stuff. So let's start with the 2020 class. We're looking specifically at the running back position. We did quarterbacks a couple weeks ago. We were off last week because of Thanksgiving and everything. So we're now moving to the running back class. So let's look at the 2020 class. We had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson, Keyshawn Vaughn, Zach Moss, Darrington Evans, DJ Dallas, and if you remember, Eno Benjamin.
DJ Dallas.
Dude, I
Rico Dowdle.
Right there, baby. DJ Dallas. There it is.
Yep.
I didn't even realize that was a DJ Dallas in the background.
Everyone thinks it's
whole time.
Cam Chancellor. Everyone thinks it's Cam Chancellor.
I thought it was the whole time. And you said DJ Dallas. It makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the DJ jersey. That's my boy. But looking at this class, definitely some high expectations going in for this class. And it ended up being good, but not amazing overall. I know for Andrew and I think you and I both ranked this, kind of retrospectively. We looked at, for me, I looked at my nerd scores. You looked at some of your notes. We would have had this, for me, I had it as the second most, highest ranked class I was most excited about. You as well. Jared, you were a little bit lower than us. You actually had it all the way down at 5th. So, looking back when you were grading these prospects and things like that, Jared, why was this one maybe not as high as Andrew and I were kind of thinking it could be?
Well, it's nice that we do our nerd score every year, and that's kind of what I was using to help me in this process.
As you should, yeah.
Yeah, because, those are all cemented in prior to the NFL draft, and it's all based on our tape that we watch and everything. So we have these scores that we can kind of measure against each class. And just looking back, I had Jonathan Taylor at 1, Dobbins at 2, Swift 3, Akers 4. But the scores for those guys, when you look at across all the classes that we're talking about today, they were just pretty average. There was no, I had Taylor at a 76, and there are a couple classes with a guy above an 80. So, in fantasy, the depth is nice in a class, but we're really looking for those hammers. So to me, Taylor ended up being great, right?
Oh, obviously, yeah.
Also, this was the first year we did our nerd score, so maybe there's a little freshness to the process, and maybe my grades just, take it with a grain of salt. But, if Dobbins doesn't get hurt, and Akers is Akers. I liked him, but then my grade was only 73 on him. But yeah, there's a class with 3 76s in it and an 80. So Taylor's a 76 for me. So that's just kind of how I was looking at it. And then projecting forward to 2027, there's some guys I really, really like in that class. So I have them above that class above this class. So yeah, when looking at it across from that lens, that's where it stacked up for me.
Yeah, I know this was an interesting one because I was super, super high on J.K. Dobbins, and obviously ended up having a solid career. And it's not done yet, but solid career, but not what we
Yeah.
hoped because of all of those injuries. And so that really derailed things. But I liked Swift a lot. I liked Taylor a lot. I was lukewarm on CEH and Cam Akers. And neither one of those guys ended up doing too much. You had a little bit of an AJ Dillon season, a little bit of a Antonio Gibson season there. So we had some run from different guys in this class. But it ended up being kind of it was solid, but not great. Andrew, what are your thoughts over there? Was there anybody that kind of sticks out to you in this class?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was a Swift fan. I liked Swift coming into this. I thought he was a good player that could do, everything we want for fantasy football, receiving out of the backfield, had the speed, had the, all of the juice that you want to see to get those big plays. His career, I would say, based off of my expectation, has been underwhelming, just based off of what I thought he could do. I liked Jonathan Taylor. I was mediocre on CEH until the NFL draft, and I got bit by the hype of CEH in Kansas City, and that was like one of my big whiffs of like he got the good landing spot, the draft capital, and I bought into it.
Great pass catching back. Like, dude, I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
how
one of
could you
those ones
not?
where like you're like, okay, I saw this before he got drafted, and then he landed in like the right situation, and
Yeah.
it was like I'll move him up the board. And I think we see that happen every year, right? Like I would say one
Sure.
guy that kind of happened with this year was like the RJ Harvey, right? RJ Harvey went up the board for a lot of people. Even if you liked him, I liked him pre-draft. He still went up my board because of the landing spot in the draft capital. So that was the thing with CH for me. Never was high on Cam Akers. Didn't really like him. Always kind of felt like he was a little bit overvalued. But you know who I did like a lot was Antonio Gibson. I bought into the PPR
Yeah,
of,
there you go.
of Gibson as
He had
well.
some nice
So
years.
yeah, I mean, it was a very solid class for me. I mean, I looked at it, it was anchored by a guy like Taylor. I really liked Swift, like I said. Dobbins was a very solid prospect to me. So, all of these players, it was just deep. And I think sometimes we struggle to see these deep classes where you have guys like 4 or 5 or 6 guys that you're like, I could see a pathway to fantasy relevance. And I felt like that was what was this class. And we've only got that maybe 1 or 2 more times since then over the last like 6 or 7 classes that we're looking at here.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. This was a class where we had several guys that were good, not great. And then you had Jonathan Taylor that was really kind of the anchor guy that made this class, because without Taylor, this would have been a hugely disappointing class. But because of Taylor, it looks like a really solid class overall. So I remember being very, very excited about this class overall. And Jared, you're right. Scores wise, it was tough year one because we didn't have that like anchor point to like say off our previous and how we're comparing these guys to other things. So, it was a harder one for us to grade with our first one, but overall solid class. Let's move to 2021. Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams, Trey Sermon, Michael Carter, Ramondre Stevenson, Chuba Hubbard, Kenneth Gainwell, Elijah Mitchell, Khalil Herbert. And Andrew, for you, was there anybody in that class that you're like, this is the guy that I'm a stan of? This is a guy that like really stands out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the guys at the top, Najee, ETN. Like those guys were guys in this class that I definitely was a fan of. I will say I was much higher than the community at the time on Chuba. I really liked Chuba. It wasn't necessarily something that looked good for a while. And even to this day, like, I don't know how well of a stance that was. He's had a couple, a 2-year
Yeah.
window where he looked pretty solid. But I was much higher on Chuba at the time. I really liked him coming out of Oklahoma State. Just felt like he was a really talented back. Everybody else, not too excited about anybody. Elijah Mitchell came in and had that, immediate production for the Niners. And I did get higher on Sermon, I think, because with the Niners, I thought Sermon was going to be the guy and not Mitchell, and it ended up flipping and being
Sure.
the other way. But yeah, I liked Sermon, was higher on him. I'm trying to think of, anybody else in this class that I was high on. I don't think there really was anybody. I think Chuba would be the guy that I put my flag down on the hardest. And I'll just shout out Ramondre Stevenson, I guess, because Ramondre went to high school about 5 minutes away from where I went to high school. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, Ramondre
Nice.
right down the street. So I'll shout out Ramondre.
There you go. JWAC, for you, I know there was one guy in this class that you were a real big fan of, and he started off his career crazy hot, and that was Najee Harris. What's kind of your perspective on him now, and what you saw in him that you really liked, and then just kind of your overall perspective on Najee?
Yeah, so Najee never had that explosiveness to his game, but I always thought he was just very solid, and he was built for the NFL game. And it's just his athleticism, not speed or explosiveness, but the way that he was able to control his body and make people miss just for his size, I thought was really good. I had him in a 79, almost an 80. And yeah, so Garrett, I mean, you and I both know when they hit that 80 threshold, like that's usually a first round pick, or even 79. It's pretty borderline first round pick. And comes in a league, puts together 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 1 RB1 season his rookie year, 3 RB2 seasons the next 3 years. So still ended up being a very solid fantasy asset. Never really delivered on like that top tier. And I think that was more of a product of where he was at with Pittsburgh, because their offensive line was terrible that whole time. Their offense sucked. Now further along in his career, he's injured, and it's just given the wear and tear that he's had through college and all the carries that he had at Alabama. He played as a freshman in Pittsburgh, so it's just kind of like he's kind of a dead asset almost at this point. Still rosterable, but
Sure.
Stashed on the IR.
Yeah, he is a tricky one because obviously had a lot of talent coming out, and had the good draft pedigree into a system that seemed perfect. He got to be with Ben Roethlisberger that first year, and so all of those passes were huge for his fantasy value. And he was always a better pass catching back than you would assume for somebody his profile.
Yeah,
and I think that was really big for him. For me, this was the Javonte class.
Yep.
Nobody else mattered. It didn't. That was it.
I got you a Javonte sweatshirt.
Yeah, right? That's where the favorite Williams thing came from, because Matt thought he couldn't tell what like the script was. He was like, "Does that say favorite Williams?" I was like, "Yes, it does." It says Javonte, but whatever.
And little did we know we were starting the knee injury curse, or the injury curse.
Yep. Because then JK was right there at the same time, and then I loved Spears, and everybody was worried about his knees, even though he wasn't injured yet, but everybody just assumed he would be. And yeah. But hey, all those players ended up being pretty good, except we'll see about Spears still. It's still under the microscope there a bit. But all that being said, Javonte has had the most wild career of all of these guys.
Yeah.
And it has been kind of a very up and down class, because ETN started slow and then had a great season and then tanked again in value, and now he's kind of back up again in value, and he's just been this roller coaster asset. But Javonte, that first rookie season, I mean, there were just signs of eliteness. I mean, he looked great. He was entering people's top 10, even top 5 for some people, and everyone thought Melvin Gordon would be gone, and Melvin Gordon still hung around and was annoying. And then just as it seemed like, okay, they're just going to give Javonte the workload and Melvin's going to be the backup, had the devastating injury and the ACL and all that, and just did not look like himself after that. He came back maybe even a little too early, because people didn't expect him to be ready for the start of the following season, and he was, and it was kind of it didn't look good. But this year with the Cowboys, he's had an incredible year. Looks a lot like his rookie self. I don't know that he'll ever fully regain all 100% of what he had, but about 95% of that seems to still be there. And so we'll see what his career shows us. He was a younger prospect, so Najee's 27, but Javonte's 25, so he might have a few more late years left. We'll kind of have to see how all of this plays out. But let's move on to
where'd you have?
I don't know that we ever ranked it. So
yeah,
Jared, you had it the third best class.
Yeah,
for you. I had it the 4th best class, and Andrew, you also had it the 4th best class. So we were all in a pretty similar ballpark. You were a little bit ahead of us, Jared, but nothing too crazy far off.
Yeah, I had some names. Jahmyr Jefferson had him graded as a 71.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know, right? Kenneth Gainwell, 71, which I liked.
Kenny
him.
G.
He's just a little undersized. Yeah, now he's playing well right now.
Looking good.
Michael Carter,
Javonte's
partner in crime in North Carolina. So
he had a window there too in New York, where he was decent.
Just undersized and not
Yeah.
explosive enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, let's go to 2022. Very interesting class here. I remember guys like Isaiah Spiller being really exciting at first, and then we're like, oh, wait, maybe he's not good. But 2022 class, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Rashad White, Tyrion Davis-Price, Brian Robinson Jr., Dameon Pierce, Zamir White, Isaiah Spiller, Tyler Algier, Jerome Ford, Kyron Williams, and Ty Chandler. Now, this is one where I have to confess. And I'm kind of upset. And this changed how I did it from here on out, which in some spots has helped me, in some spots has hurt me. This was the one time that I will fully admit that after the combine, I let that affect me a little bit on my tape scores. I always said it wouldn't, and I would never let it affect me. And I had Kyron as my either third or fourth back in the class, and he got bumped down to fifth or sixth after that combine. I didn't kill him for it, but I was like, oh, maybe his speed's way worse than I thought on tape.
I know.
So I bumped him down a spot or two, maybe even three. I don't remember exactly how many it was. That was the only time where I let the combine decide anything like that for me. And to this day, I kind of regret it. I mean, obviously I regret it because he ended up being one of the better backs in the class. And I was big on him. I was like, I love his pass protection. I think he's a good all-around player. You know, I don't think he's ever going to be special, but I think he could be a really good NFL back. And that's exactly what he's been. He's been a very good NFL back. So that is one of my biggest, probably in the running back range, my biggest nerd score regret ever. So, Jared, what about you? Anybody in here that was really standing out for you? I remember you were one of the first guys to talk to me about Kenneth Walker because you were watching him even before Michigan State. You were watching him when
Forest.
Wake Forest, and you're like, dude, they do this really weird like walk-up handoff thing. I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it's like, and you even see it with like Damon Claiborne now these days. Like the way they coach their running backs is just patience times 2. Like it's just like patience times 5. The way they approach the line of scrimmage, they really take slow to fast through seriously. But yeah, I remember watching him. I forget why I was watching Wake Forest, but he like stood out to me.
It was probably Surratt, I bet.
Surratt, Sam Hartman. I think he was there. No,
I think
he was
after Hartman was there
before Notre Dame. Yeah,
maybe.
Either way. Anyway, yeah, that's I liked him then, and obviously he had a really good season at Michigan State. Overall, as a class, when you compare him against all the other classes, like there's just not much depth here. When looking at it pre-draft, Breece Hall obviously is the top running back, and I'm surprised my score was only 76 for him because I remember really liking him a lot. But yeah, I mean, that was really the only hammer, quote unquote, like I said earlier, in this class for me. Some names that just like my RB3 was Isaiah Spiller. Grade wise, when you stack them up against all the classes, a 72 is not that high. So for an RB3 to be only a 72, that's like meh. And he never amounted to anything. Like, I know a lot of people had him as like RB1 for a little bit. Yeah, it's just the size, and he had some quickness to him and make you miss and some stuff to like. Dameon Pierce, I had him at my RB4. Flashed for a little, and then it's just nothing. And then, Kyron Williams, my RB5. But, we had Zamir White in that class, Rashad White, Tyler Beatty, Brian Robinson, James Cook, like you said earlier. So some guys after the draft that really ended up panning out to be some nice fantasy assets. So, yeah.
Andrew, who were you in on, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of the people that was also in on Spiller early. I think he was my RB2, only behind Breece. It was Breece and then Spiller. So I kind of viewed those two guys as the top of the class. Was a little bit higher. I feel like I mentioned this on the quarterback episode, but you know how you guys probably know this as well when you're like watching teams because you're a fan or maybe you're close to them location wise. Like when I was in college in Utah, I was watching a lot of BYU. I was watching Utah State, like those local schools. And I was really higher on Tyler Algier because at the time I was watching BYU. And so I liked Tyler Algier a little more in this class. I thought was a fan of Jerome Ford too. Thought he was going to be a really consistent, decent, like NFL running back and would find a role. And that has been somewhat true. I think he's been good, not great, enough to, stay in the rotation, but not ever be the guy. And so he was a player that I liked as well. But I had this, not ranked super highly in our rankings because there was a lack of, I think, obvious depth in the class before the NFL draft. Guys like James Cook got that running back bump because of the draft capital and the landing spot. And I got really intrigued immediately because that's Dalvin's little brother. And I was obviously a big Dalvin guy. So I'm like,
Sure.
yeah, let me look and watch this immediately as soon as he goes to Buffalo. So liked him after the draft. But everybody else, for the most part, there was nobody I was like in love with. I don't even think like the guys at the top, even Brees and Spiller. I wasn't really in love with anybody as a prospect for the most part.
It is interesting. James Cook is kind of one of the biggest outliers. I did a study of all the classes since like 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. I'll have to go back and look at what it was. But guys that rose from ADP plus or minus like 7 spots from pre-draft ADP to post-draft ADP. And he was like one of the only players that like actually did really well. Almost all those other guys that we rise up because of draft capital, because of landing spot, post-draft, almost always end up being duds, which is interesting. It shows like as a community, we do a pretty darn good job pre-draft knowing a lot about these guys and knowing where they should be. And then I think sometimes we let that influence us too much. Like this year, a perfect example, we mentioned RJ Harvey, and we'll see. These are rookies. There's a lot that could still change. He has tons of opportunities still, but like I had RJ Harvey well behind Cam Scatterbu, but one went in the second round and one went in the fourth round. And that changed everyone's ADP drastically. And I think, at least from what we've seen so far, Cam Scatterbu was definitely, I'm dying over here. Apparently Cam Scatterbu looks more legit. Still very early. RJ Harvey could come out and have 150 yards this week. We'll see what happens, but
I gotta ask you guys because I saw it the other day. It was like some discourse after James Cook had one of those big games, and people were asking like, is it time to have the conversation of James Cook over Dalvin for the best running back in the family? What is your guys' opinions on Cook versus Cook? I guess James versus Dalvin right now for their careers.
I still lean Dalvin. I think he's just a more complete back, but like you can't deny the production James Cook has had. But like I just think if I put Dalvin Cook in the same situation, I think he would do just as well. I don't know, Garrett. What do you think?
Garrett, let me know your thoughts.
And
I'll give you mine.
The big knock on Dalvin was he got banged up a lot, and James has actually been surprisingly healthy despite being like the slighter frame player of the two. So, I would have kind of expected it to be the opposite. So that's one of the biggest knocks on him. I would say if I had to pick today, I'd pick Dalvin, but James Cook still has probably a few more years left in him. So I expect James to pass Dalvin.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting talking point for the most part. But I think people, man, so quickly after these running backs stop producing for us, they just forget how good they were in their prime. Like Dalvin was so good. Like he's one of the most exciting running backs outside of, AP that I got to watch with my own 2 eyes for the Vikings, but he's been the most exciting guy I've seen outside of AP in a Vikings jersey, probably in the last 2 decades, So he's definitely one of my favorite players ever. I got the jersey over here, but I think he's a player that people have forgot about because the end of Dalvin's career was so harsh. It was like just a drop off of him going to the Jets and then getting cut and then him going to another, you know what I mean? Like it was just so crazy with Dalvin, but he was so good, and an awesome fantasy player too.
Yeah, he was. Andrew, where'd you end up having this class at?
I think I had this class 5th overall, 4th overall. Let me see. I had it 5th overall.
Okay. I had 7th.
Real quick, we were talking about Dalvin Cook since we're talking about draft classes. I don't know that any class will ever top the 2017 running back draft class.
Seriously.
Bro, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, James Conner, Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones, Austin Eckler. Now, Eckler didn't get drafted. He was a UDFA, but
That's crazy.
dude,
Yeah,
crazy.
but an RB1 overall finish for Austin Eckler being the UDFA is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just an absurd class. Like, I don't know that we'll ever be able to top, especially in today's NFL. Like, I don't know how we ever top that. But yeah, we were talking about rankings for the class. I ended up having it 6. So I was not super high on this class. I was a little lower on Kenneth Walker than consensus. And he's had a good career, not a great career. We'll see. I'm guessing he's going to be a free agent and he's going to be somewhere else next year. We'll kind of see how all that plays out, but that could definitely help things as well. Let's go to the 2023 class. And this was a class that I know we were all very, very excited about because we already knew Bijan Robinson, and there was a lot of hype around Jahmyr Gibbs as well. So that class was getting a lot of love. Right after those guys, Zach Charbonnet, Kendre Miller, Tyjae Spears, Devon Achane. And when I'm ranking these, I'm just kind of going in draft order. But Devon Achane, Tank Bigsby, Roshan Johnson, Izzy Abanikanda, Chase Brown, Eric Gray. So definitely some names that were pretty exciting pre-draft. I was one of the biggest Tyjae Spears fans you were going to find, but I was high on Achane as well. I remember texting Jared because I was watching Isaiah Spiller film. I was like, dude, I really like this kid, this Achane kid.
It was
like,
a freshman year. Like. Yeah.
Yeah. It was his freshman year. I was like, dude's like a legit track runner. Like, he's on the track team.
Yeah.
Like, he's fast. So I remember talking about him way back in the day. And then we all knew forever that Bijan was one of the best running backs that we had seen. So Andrew, when was your like official, like, okay, I'm actually not just doing it for fun, but I'm like really digging into this class for fantasy purposes? When did that start for you?
Like just diving into each class's tape?
Yeah.
I'd say for me, it was probably 2022 when I was like really starting to dive into tape for the first time and like start watching guys all 22 and doing it there. So 2023 was the first class ever for me where my pre-draft rookie rankings were published on the internet for people to see videos and people to see stuff like that. So that was the first year that people could actually see my rookie classes outside of my like,
league
Google Sheets that I was keeping for myself to beat my league mates in 2020, 2021, all those years. So this class is the first one you can actually pull receipts on for anybody who isn't a friend of me, like personally. So this was a awesome class. I thought early on, I liked Bijan just like everybody did. But I think one of my favorite receipts early on, the quarterbacks of this class didn't go as well as my running back receipts, but the running back receipt that I have that I'm you can go find it if you want to, like I said, is I was much higher on Jahmyr Gibbs than the community was. And there's a short on my channel where I said right as the combine was starting or a week before the combine or something like that, where it was Jahmyr Gibbs is way closer to Bijan Robinson as the top running back in this class than he is to the RB3 in this class. And I think when you say that now, people are like, yeah, that's not that hot of a take. That's not that crazy. But I think at the time, people didn't think Jahmyr Gibbs was going to be a top pick in the NFL draft. They didn't think he was going to be the clear-cut RB2 who was going to be this, I guess, all-pro level type of running back at the NFL level. So the fact that we were talking about Bijan as a generational guy and I felt like he was closer to Bijan Robinson than anything, felt like I was higher than the community was on him at that time. So he was a player that I definitely put my hat in, whatever. I
hung your hat on.
I hung my hat on Jahmyr Gibbs. I liked Zach Charbonnet a lot as well. Thought he was a really solid running back. And when he got that landing spot there for Seattle, I was like, what the hell is like, what is happening here? Because Kenneth Walker just had that awesome season the year before as a rookie. And I'm like, why are we doing this to Zach Charbonnet? And it really ruined, I think, a lot of the feelings post-draft that I had about the class, because I was like, we could have 4 guys, I think, in this class that end up being real big contributors for fantasy. And it just like nuked. It felt like for me, it nuked Charbonnet's value immediately. It kind of nuked Kenneth's value from what I had the year before. And I was happy that in that offseason, I had sold Kenneth for Garrett Wilson in a trade based off of their rookie years. But yeah, I think other than that, Gibbs was the guy I hung my hat on. I also like Tank Bigsby. I will admit I like Tank Bigsby
I do
quite a
too.
bit in this class. So those would be like the two guys I think I was higher than consensus on. But this was one of my favorite classes in recent memory. I think overall when I looked at it, it came out as a top 3 class for me overall. So yeah, it was my 3rd ranked class.
Yep. 3rd for me. Jared, I think you had this one 2nd for you. It's not hard to see why when you had a guy that I know for me, Bijan's my all-time highest running back score. Is that true for you as well?
Yeah, same for me. Jahmyr was my 2nd highest then at the time. Well, removing Bijan. So I had him like right behind Najee. So I had him graded pretty high. And Achane, dude, admittedly, like, God, Garrett, remember I loved Achane during the process.
You did.
And admittedly, like, I allowed myself to like nuke his score a little bit based off of just consensus noise.
Sure.
Like going in and just reevaluating myself because I can't remember.
I feel like that happens sometimes, man. That happened to me, I think, this year with Travis Hunter. I was lower on Travis Hunter than consensus, and all the consensus noise was like, Hunter's going to be great. Hunter's going to be this. Hunter. I'm like, God, let me move him up the board just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Last year, I didn't allow any of that. Like, I was like,
I didn't either.
Middle finger. And that's kind of how I do
It's because we've done it long enough now, Jared, where we're like, we've seen the pluses and minuses of that. And we're like, I would rather go down with the ship on my stuff.
Yeah.
Than like, that's why Manungai didn't move down for me this year. Like, I could have easily let consensus move him down. And I was like, no, he's going to be top 10 for me. Like, I think he's good.
Yeah. And like, that's just, I don't read Twitter anymore, really. Like, I don't know. I just don't listen to the noise as much as I used to. Some misses from this class. Dwayne McBride.
Oh, dude, I loved him.
We both did. We both had him at 72 point something.
Yeah, solid player.
Roshan, we both had 72 and a half range. I was a little lower on Tank. I had Sean Tucker up there a little bit, but I still am holding out hope on Kendre Miller a little bit.
You were a Miller guy.
Yeah, I had him at 74, which is a good grade. I still think he has looked good when he's had the opportunity. I think there's maybe a little like immaturity issues there with that may have been holding him back. It didn't sound like the coaches liked him as much as from the coach speak that you heard on Kendre. So I think he was in a doghouse a bit. So I'm still holding him on rosters. And
Allen,
Dennis Allen?
Yeah, Dennis Allen. I feel like every press conference was something negative.
He
about
hated
Kendre.
him.
Yeah,
yeah, he hated him. I was like, there's probably a reason. But yeah, dude. So just like some 3 really good guys I liked. I had Charbonnet also at a 75, so I really liked him too, Andrew. So yeah, a really good class for me. A class that I saw some guys that should be RB1s, which is what you want. So yeah, I had this class at 2. 2
overall?
Yeah, 2 overall.
Did you guys ever get in on the Roshan? I know Roshan kind of had a hive there in the pre-draft process, and I think sometimes we see that happen with guys when the guy above them, Bijan, is so good. It's like the second guy gets a little bit of bump, and we saw that with Michael Carter, right? Javonte and Michael Carter. Michael Carter got the little bit of bump. Maybe we're seeing that right now with Price and Jeremiyah Love. So, like, did you guys ever get in on the Roshan stuff or no?
Garrett liked him a little more than me, but we both liked him decently.
I would say we were fairly consensus. Like, I don't feel like we were like really high on him, but I don't think we were really low on him. We were just kind of like, this is a solid player.
Yeah, about day 3 nerd score.
Fair. Yeah, right? I know there's somebody that I watched at the time a lot more than I do now, but was very high. Very high, and I don't watch them any less because it's just because I have less time. But they were very, very high on Roshan, like RB1B in the class type Roshan Johnson.
Oh wow,
yeah, 1B, not even 2. It was 1B with Bijan.
Holy cow! Yeah, we saw that with Ohio State this year too. But those guys both look pretty good. Let's move on to the 2024 class, and this has been a tough one, and I feel like, if anything, I tried to talk myself into this class more than anything. but because I already knew it was bad. I already knew it wasn't as good of a class. But I think I tried to talk myself into some of the top guys, maybe a little more than I should have, and I should have just kind of let it be. This is just not that good. But Jonathon Brooks, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Wright, Bucky Irving, Will Shipley, Ray Davis, Isaac Guerrero, Braylon Allen, Audric Estime, Rasheed Ali, and Tyrone Tracy. Was there anybody that you were even kind of excited about, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, there was players that I liked. I did have this ranked as my last ranked class. It was 8th overall for us in these 8 classes that we're looking at. So that's where I had it. I wasn't super excited. I did like a couple guys more than I think others. Blake Corum to me was RB2 in the class. I had Blake Corum as the second best running back, and I thought he was one of the more talented running backs in this class overall, and probably one of the more complete guys. I liked Trey Benson. I wasn't really a Jonathon Brooks fan, and he ended up being the guy that got the draft capital bump, I would say, for these guys, for me. Other than that, I think bigger misses, or maybe guys that actually, the 2 deep throws that I really liked in this class were Tyrone Tracy. I drafted him everywhere in the 4th and 5th of my rookie drafts just because of opportunity that landed in front of him, because it felt like there was nobody on the depth chart that could really compete with him right away. There's maybe a clear path. And I also really liked Ray Davis. Now, he ended up going to play behind James Cook, and obviously that's like, you can't get onto the football field when James Cook is playing like that. But I thought that Ray Davis was a really, really good, really capable running back in this class. And I think I had him overall higher than most people pre-draft. He was like my running back 4 or 5 in the pre-draft process. So I had him quite higher. The one guy that I think most people want out of this class, Bucky Irving, I didn't like him at all. I didn't really like him. I thought he was an okay running back, similar to kind of the Kyron Williams thing, where his scores, his combine, and some of those numbers weren't as good either. And then he goes and finds the right situation and ends up being a baller. So he's the biggest miss for me by far. I think post-draft, I had him as like a 4th round, 5th round pick, where I think most people probably had him there too, but he just ended up being awesome for fantasy teams.
Yeah, Jared, you were a Bucky guy, if I remember right.
Yeah, I had him in my RB5. He scored pretty well for me. So it was, after seeing like those like all the measurable stuff, like I was like, oh crap, but stuck. I was like, I'm sticking my guns on this one. But dude, this class, man, just so many injuries still. So it's like
so hard to rank.
Yeah. Jonathon, I mean, it's not hard to rank for like what we're doing with the pre-draft stuff.
Oh yeah, it's easily last. We knew
there's
it.
Definitely no bias affecting us, or maybe there is. Maybe the bias is nothing's produced, or there's bias that.
But we even knew coming in, we were like, for me, I was like, this might be the first class where nobody gets a 75. Like there's no top running back that tops it, and then of course Jonathon Brooks and Trey Benson both ended up like sneaking in, and so now I have 2 guys that did actually get a 75 for me. But you're right. Like all of these top guys have been hurt for the most part.
And so I had Marshawn Lloyd as my top nerd score running back. I liked him a lot. Can't stay on the field. He had injury issues in college too, I remember. So, I mean, will he ever get his shot? Maybe. So, I mean, he flashed he had one really nice catch this year or something. Was it preseason? I don't even remember. I remember being happy about it. And then I like Jonathon Brooks too, but back-to-back knee injuries. What's going to be made of him? Jalen Wright's behind Achane, but he's looked pretty good in his touches. So just like kind of a meh class. And maybe the class was so meh, we bumped these guys up a little bit more than we should have.
Somebody.
We're just searching for somebody. I just pulled up my final top 36 pre-draft rankings. Bucky was 36 out of 36 on that list for me. So, I wasn't super high. I had Will Shipley over him, actually.
I had Corum at 11. I had him down.
Running back or overall?
Running back.
Yeah.
Minor overalls.
In that class. Fun fact, we had Ray Davis on. Garrett, Nick Whalen, and I used to do a film show that was live on like Twitch. It's called Film Nerds. And occasionally we brought in a college player, and he would watch his tape with us, and we just talk. And Ray Davis, when he was at Temple, I think it was after his
That was when he
freshman
was
year.
Raymond Davis.
Raymond Davis, yeah. So it's probably still up on YouTube, actually. But yeah, we had Ray Davis on the show, so it was kind of cool.
That's
yeah,
cool.
that was
Yeah,
definitely
that's really cool.
that was definitely a cool one. Of course I clicked the wrong one, but I was curious how my nerd score shook out and all of it. But yeah, just obviously a disappointing class. But then we go to this year's
I have
class.
it up if you're
And
curious.
what's that?
I have yours up if you're curious.
Okay, well, I if I remember right, tell me if I get it wrong. I think it was Benson, Brooks, Lloyd, right, and then I might have had Ali fifth. I was pretty high on Ali.
You did. Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay. And I think Tyrone Tracy ended up being like somewhere 6 through 8 for me. I was pretty high on him as well.
Dude, I remember that was a late grade.
Yeah.
And I never got one in for him. And you were like, dude, you got to grade this guy. And I was like trying to do it on our way to New York. Because we go watch the draft in New York, and it didn't happen. But
there's one of those guys every year. You know, this year it was like last minute. It was like, all right, Ja'Cory Kresge-Merritt, we're gonna get him in, and oh yeah, I did Isaac Tesla too. And like,
good thing you did.
Yeah, it worked out.
I'm always the one who doesn't.
Happens every year. All right, 2025 class. I have this as the number one class. I think consensus for all of us with our scores. We're like, we know this class is going to be great. And overall, there's obviously been shown some flashes of greatness. It hasn't quite in total points worked out as well as I think we would have hoped in year one, but there's still a ton of opportunity for this class. And we've seen it from most of the guys that we thought we were going to get it from. Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, TreVeyon Henderson, RJ Harvey, Caleb Johnson, Bashal Tootin, Cam Scadaboo, Trevor Etienne, Woody Marks, Dylan Sampson, Jordan James, Jaden Blue. And those were just some of the top names drafted. Obviously, there's other guys that, Kyle Monunga's popped. JCM had his moment and is kind of, faded since then. But overall, just so many scores for me that were 76 and above, which is really, truly like elite territory. If you can get, like, when I look at mine, like everyone that's above like 75 and a half are like almost all great running backs, or at least really good running backs on like my all-time nerd score. So Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, and TreVeyon Henderson all hit that mark for me. Jared, I think they all got above a 76 for you as well, right?
Yeah, they did. Yep.
So we knew this class was going to be really great. Andrew, how did you kind of view this class? Obviously, we kind of started doing some work before the season started with Dynasty Nerds, but your pre-draft stuff was all before your time with Dynasty Nerds. So how did you kind of see this class going in?
Yeah, I mean, this was it's my number one class as well. Like you said, it came down to me where it was high-end talent also meets depth, and that is what made it number one overall, because not only did I like Jeanty, not only did I like Hampton and Judkins and Henderson, and thought all of these guys had potential dynasty running back one upside, but then you had guys in the class that I was like, Caleb Johnson, like him as a depth piece, like guys like RJ Harvey, like guys like Tootin, like guys like Scadaboo. Like, these are all the players that I really liked in the class. And I'm looking back at these rankings right before the NFL draft. I had it Jeanty in a tier of his own. The next two guys in a tier of their own were Hampton and Henderson. And then I had Judkins followed by Caleb Johnson, actually, as RB5. Then Scadaboo 6, Sampson 7, and Tootin, Damian Martinez, and DJ Giddens to round out the top 10. That was my top 10 overall coming into it. So not even guys like Gordon, who I thought was a very solid prospect, cracked my top 10. Guys like Harvey didn't even crack my top 10, but he ended up being a guy that we were looking at in drafts because of draft capital. So for me, just a very solid, deep class, lots of talent, and a lot of the high-end production, which is what I was looking for too.
Jared, what did your top 10 end up rounding out like?
15 players graded as 71 or higher in this class for our running backs. Like, that's crazy. So yeah,
absurd.
Definitely depth wise, very good. Let me see my top 10 nerd score wise. I don't remember like how, because nerd score isn't like the final rank that
Correct.
we do pre-draft. That's kind of what I was using for this. So I'm just going off what the nerd score was. So my tape scores were Jeanty was 1, Henderson was 2 by like minimal tenths of a point. Judkins was 3. Hampton was 4. I had Scadaboo at 5. Caleb Johnson barely edged out Munningai. I said Munningai at 6. Tootin at 7. Dylan Sampson at 8. Martinez at 9. And I had Jordan James at 10. And then Devin Neal at 11. I had RJ Harvey all the way down like 13. So, but I mean, they were all 71s. Like, remember Garrett? There was like that huge tier of players. It was like, take your pick here. They're all jumbled in together.
No, it's absolutely true. Yeah. I had even Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt got a 71.23 for me. So yeah, I have like 15 guys or so. I don't know the exact number. It might actually, I think it's even more than that. Closer to 17 guys over a 71 for me. So yeah, loved this class. Loved the depth of this class. I had it Jeanty, TreVeyon, Hampton, Judkins, Scadaboo, and then I had Sampson at 6, Caleb Johnson at 7, LaQuint Allen at 8. I was a big LaQuint Allen guy. Still like the little flashes I see, but just a crowded room. Bayshall Tootin at 9, and then Kyle Munungai at 10. But I mean, all just fractions of a point apart for a lot of these guys. So just a really, really good class. I think we're going to see dividends for years. And I think the class would even feel better right now too if we didn't get the Scadaboo and the Hampton injury, even though we still like them long term. It would feel better if we didn't lose them this early.
And Jeanty's behind the worst offensive line in the league.
Right.
But even then, saying that, I don't feel like anybody looks at this running back class and is like, man, this has been disappointing. I don't think anybody has looked at this class and felt that way for the most part.
No, not at all.
I don't think so. I think the only guy that's been truly especially a lot of people, because look, and there's a lot of people I truly respect and I think are
Caleb
just
Johnson.
as good, if not maybe even better than I am at ranking and scouting and these kinds of things. But I listen to a lot of shows that had Caleb Johnson as a top 3 running back. A lot of them pre-draft. They got a little more bearish post-draft. But if we're truly going off, how did we feel about this class? How did we feel about these players on their own? Pre-draft, a lot of these guys had Caleb Johnson high. I had him at 7. And I know you guys both had him lower as well. So
I think
it was not something where I was like, Caleb Johnson special. It's Caleb Johnson has a great offensive line and gets what it's expected from that offensive line.
Yeah, I think overall we just said you had him at 7. I think Jared, you said you had him at 6, and I had him at 5, and I was the high on here. So none of us had him creep above the Judkins, the Henderson, any of those guys.
No chance.
Yeah, and he was one of the youngest players, I think, in the draft, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, there's still plenty to write for this class. So, yeah, he's definitely been the disappointment so far. You're right.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out. Still willing to buy low, though. We'll see what happens with this team next year. See if Tomlin's even the coach, because right now the price is just so low. So.
How about Woody Marks?
I remember we said a buy low. We had a buy low video the other. Yeah, it was like early on, and it's like, yeah, man, it's a buy low opportunity, and then the price just got lower, and it's still getting lower, and it's going lower, and it's like, where's the low point for Caleb Johnson? Like, are we gonna be able to pick him up off of waivers soon and say like, this is the buy low point for Caleb Johnson?
The lowest buy low. Yeah. This is the bottom.
What I know, Garrett and I were like, collectively we both missed on Woody Marks. Where did you have him, Andrew?
He wasn't in my top. He wasn't in my top 36 players. I didn't have him in my top 15 running backs. Like, he wasn't a player that I had very high. So
I remember texting Garrett, like, I did not like him at all. Like,
yeah. In fact,
maybe I wore on Garrett. I think it was one of my first guys I did. So
I didn't have a very good score either. It was basically, I was like, he's a pass catching back. Like, yeah, that's his role. He's obviously done more than that, but he's done pretty good. Like, he's been good, but he hasn't been like great. But it's also a bad offensive line, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah. So that was our first class overall.
Let's move on to the 2026 class. So now we're starting to look ahead. Now we're starting to project a little bit. Now it's going to get a little interesting. Jared, you have this class ranked 6th. Andrew, you have it 6th. I have it 7th. So overall, we're definitely not super high on the 2026 class. right now we know Jeremiyah Love, one of the most talented running backs. He would be over the path. Like, I'm excited to see where I grade him, because I
me
could see
too.
him entering my top 5 of ranks and scores that I've given Nerd Score wise pre-draft. So he is definitely up there. He is a real talent. But then there is just seemingly a chasm after him. How are you feeling right now about the class, Jared?
Yeah, you just described it pretty well. It's tough. Like, we got the first round lock, which we want. We want the guy that's going to come in that we know should produce probably a couple RB1 seasons, and Jeremiyah Love. I do like Justin Haynes quite a bit. Justice Haynes. I think I said Justin. Justice Haynes from Michigan. He was out versus Ohio State, so he's been banged up a little bit, but I think that he's flashed and shown some good things. He has that big recruiting pedigree. So interested to see if he declares. I could see him possibly going back. I do like the backup for Jeremiyah Love and Garret Price, like we mentioned earlier. Speedster. But from there on, man, it's pretty bleak. Like, I don't know what to think. So if there's only one true guy that I really like going into not doing any scores yet, like, because if you look back, like the Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs class, Achane, like Charbon, like I knew those guys were probably going to be good scores just from watching college football. And yeah, just right now, it's just like, man, it's tough. Yeah, doesn't look great. We'll see.
What are you thinking, Andrew?
It's not great. I don't love it. I don't love the class. I do love Jeremiyah Love, though. Like, I think he's gonna be really good at the next level. And I'll be honest, I'll put on record right now, I haven't gotten into all of the all 22. We haven't got an official film grade on him or anything like that. But I'm not gonna be surprised if and when he does end up ranking like a Hampton and a Judkins and a Henderson type of running back.
Yeah.
I think he's that RB1 dominant, like first round running back NFL type of guy. So he's the guy that I think right now, if I were looking at 2026 and you said you have to pick a 101 today, who is the most confident player you are in 2026, it's going to be Jeremiyah Love. He's the player that I think I'm the most confident in 2026 right now. So I like him a lot. Outside of him, I had a friend the other day just say, "Hey, Andrew, how does 2026 look at quarterback and how does it look at running back? Because I need some help with my dynasty team." I said, "Buddy, you might be looking at the wrong draft class. I don't know if this is the draft class you want to look at to fix those two positions." And I think it's just because Justice Haynes, he has some qualities that you like. Do I think he can be
banged up though, man?
Yeah, and do I think he can be a high-end running back for fantasy? I'm not so confident in that. I like Jonah Coleman. The play style's a little odd, I think, for today's NFL. I think Nick Singleton has the juice, but he's been so disappointing this year. Hasn't done anything that we've wanted him to do. Darius Taylor's a player that I was higher on coming into the year. He hasn't really performed for the most part. Garret Price, we talked about him as well. It feels very messy, and it feels like there's a lot of information, which is obvious. There's a lot of information we still need to find out. But typically by this time, as we're getting into bowl season and we're getting into college football playoffs, we should be able to at least look at a list of names and say, okay, these guys are here at the top, these guys are in the middle, and these guys are at the bottom. And I feel like right now we can say Love and Haynes are kind of at the top. Love is clearly at the top. And then everybody else is going to work its way through sometime, hopefully, before the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's assuming all these guys come out. There's a lot of them that could go back to school, with NIL money and all that. It's going to be a really interesting year for running back, and especially for a guy
worse.
What's that?
It could get worse.
It could. And for a guy that loves watching running back tape, I'm not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about the Nerd Score process this year. But let's go from 26 to 20. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I think Raleek Brown from Arizona State. I know I mentioned him on here before, but
he's a smaller guy.
I'm liking him more and more. Dude, he supposedly put like 20, 25 pounds on going into this year.
Okay.
He was hurt pretty bad, I think his freshman year or something. I can't remember, but dude, if you watch his tape, it's exciting. It's fun. He's got some.
I'm excited to watch it because I have not watched him at all.
He's got some stringing some moves together. Like he's got a bag.
Okay. All right. We will keep an eye on him for sure. 2027 now. Ahmad Hardy, Fluff Bothwell, Keelan Lacey, Jaden Baugh, Caden Durham, Nate Frazier, Deshaun Bishop, Isaac Brown. Right now, Jared, you're pretty excited about this class. Of all of us, you are the highest. You already have them fourth. So you think there could be some pretty special talent there at the running back position.
I do. I think Ahmad Hardy's a stud, like already. Like I think he's going to be potentially a first round pick. He just maybe lacks a little bit of that like juice that you see from those guys that get picked in the first round. But dude, that guy's tough to tackle. And I collectively, like I like Keewan Lacey from Ole Miss, Jaden Baugh from Florida. I really like a lot. And that's, we'll see who ends up committing. I mean, you went through Fluff, Bothwell. We talked about him a little bit. Isaac Brown from Louisville. I know people really like a lot. And then you got Jordan Marshall from Michigan, and just some guys that maybe haven't had their shot yet and may end up transferring that have flashed a little bit from what I've seen. Mekhi Hughes, maybe he's going to have a comeback. I don't know if he ends up transferring. He'll probably be in that class. Nate Frazier from Georgia has looked good. So there's a lot of guys in here that from what I've watched in college football, like I'm pretty excited about this class. And dude, the depth of this class across the board, not just running back, like you're going to be able to get some of these kids like later than you should.
Yeah, no, across the board, it's looking like a really, really good class. What are you thinking about this running back class right now, Andrew?
Yeah, I think I'm punishing it a little bit in my ranking just because of 2 years of uncertainty down the road. I think that's maybe why I'm punishing it in my rankings right now, because we go from how did you feel about these classes to how do you think you're going to feel about that class? And so
tough exercise.
Yeah, I think I think they're being punished a little bit. I think maybe as I look at it, I might like this one more than 26. So I might swap those and put 27 at 6 and maybe 26 at 7. But I think that's because of the depth of this class. We'll see how it ends up working out over here. I like Ahmad Hardy, just like you said, Jared. I like Lacey as well. I've heard that he could be a player that now that Lane has, went over to LSU, is Lacey going to hit the portal and end up being a player that ends up following and going with Lane to LSU? That's something that I've seen rumored, which would be interesting because we know that Caden Durham is a player over there at LSU right now that we like. So how is that going to end up working out?
Yeah.
I like Frazier. He hasn't had the good year, but I think he has the tools, and obviously he had the high, 5-star type of prospect profile.
Kirby's weird with his running back rooms all the time. Like James Cook, the same. Like he splits carries a lot. We've seen over the years. So the numbers don't usually look good.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting class. We'll see how it ends up working out. But you're right. I mean, when you make the point about the depth of the class as a whole and how that can affect you drafting the running backs, I think you're going to get better running back talents later in your rookie drafts than you would have in 2026. Like we're talking about guys like Justice Haynes, for example, right? Like he's going to be a player that you probably have to spend a first-round rookie pick on if you want him on your fantasy team when it's all said and done. And that's assuming, the combine and all that stuff goes well.
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah, like you have to spend a first-round pick on him, but you could get a Justice Haynes level type of running back in 2027, maybe in your mid-second. Like that's probably closer to where you're going to be able to get that player. So when you're looking at it that way, yes, it feels better because now I'm using rookie picks that aren't as valuable or aren't as important, or I don't feel like need to hit as hard in my rookie or in my dynasty leagues to get these running backs to be productive. So definitely an interesting class. Really excited about the wide receivers in that class, but that's, next week.
That's next week. You got to wait a week. All right, guys. Well, let us know how you're feeling about these classes. If you want to rank them in the comments, let us know how you would put these guys pre-draft, not post-draft, not 5 years later. Don't cheat. But let us know what you guys thought. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.